Alright, yos. Please bear with me, I'm leaving the gym. This parking lot's a little complicated. Trying to back out, and then I gotta deal with this parking machine. Parking pass machine. Dang. Everybody's parked so tight in here. Alright, but welcome back to the pod, welcome back to Tomboy Official. It's Friday, Cinco de Mayo. I don't really have any fancy plans, so I'm basically, I don't know what I'm doing. Going home to figure out what I'm doing. Not going out tonight, so there's that. Ooh. Somebody just cut the line. Oh my gosh. Bear with me a little bit, guys. How this lot is like so freaking busy. It's so annoying to me. Like, it's the smallest parking that I think I've ever seen. I think the only smaller parking that I might have witnessed is at Mitsuwa Market, but it's all like out in the open. This one just feels so claustrophobic because it's like under, like it's a structure where you're like under the structure. So it's just like, man, like, you don't even get like Wi-Fi. My phone says SOS. Like, it doesn't really fully work. But yeah, it's probably the most productive thing I've done all day. Well, I did some podcasting earlier, but I'm gonna get back to the house and do some studying. I've got like 2 hours till sundown, so about 2 hours left. 7:50 p.m. is sundown, so I got about 2 hours left to shower, eat, and study. I don't have to like eat, but I have a protein shake basically, and I like to have that. I don't know. It's a little tiring. Gym's a little tiring. But yeah, I wanted to, before I actually get home, I wanted to speak to, the final chapter experience of my LGBTQ plus living experiences, places I've lived. So, after the whole debacle, moving out from the Linda Vista, San Diego crazy house, after moving out from living with those wild people, I moved back to LA with my folks. So the process started near May, but because my car broke down in about, I don't know what, my car broke down around May sometime last year. The starter went out, and so I wasn't really easily able to just like move. I think, if I recall correctly, the weekend I wanted to move, like I wanted to just go to LA and just stay there and have them figure it out, but my car got stalled in San Diego, and then I can't remember. I think I had left my work stuff in the opposite city. I can't remember what the whole story was, but I think I got stranded in San Diego with my work supplies being in LA at one point, which was by no means helpful in any way, shape, or form. to have that occur. And I remember having to call out of work for that reason. But it wasn't like a big deal because, things like that happen. It's like, I tried, but I was like, like to rent a car, like my credit wasn't like too great. Like I wasn't sure if I'd be able to like rent a car. And it would have been like a super expensive task. And so I think I took the train the next day, but I had to take the train and left my car basically at the house in Linda Vista. Went back for the week up to LA by train. I think that Monday morning, got back, worked Tuesday. Because this was Sunday. I think I had gone to the beach with a friend on Sunday, and once I was leaving Mission Beach for the first time ever, like my car wouldn't start, and that was like the first time that had ever happened. And I, of course I assumed battery, that was like the first assumption I had made, but it wasn't a battery. It was the freaking not battery. It was the starter. And the starter's original, and so there was that issue. And then, so I moved, I don't remember when, but like the very beginning of January. I think I told the house that my last day was going to be June 15th. I would be fully moved out, but I remember I was already settled in and fully moved out before June 10th, because that's when my car registration is due. And so last year when my car turned 20 on June 10th, I just got that going for myself. So when the car turned 20, I was when the car had turned 20, I basically, I had to get repairs for the smog, and I don't know why people are like insisting on driving like right next to me today. I had to get repairs for the smog, so I got that situated, and I also had to get what else did I have to get? I got repairs for the smog. I got the smog check, everything cleared, passed. And then, so that was like right before, I think the day of June 10th was the day that I had finally finished everything and they submitted the paperwork to the DMV on that date too. And so, we're almost full circle to that time period at the moment that I'm recording this. But I went basically, actually, let me not go straight to the house yet. So I went basically to how do I say this? I went to the dude, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, sorry. I was moved in, and in my head I was like, I'll be back by the end of summer, like I'm just gonna study really hard, in June, and then by September I'll be back, I really thought that's what I was doing, because I had started no, that's the wrong timeline. No. I wasn't planning on staying necessarily, I think. I hadn't even started thinking of really changing to a new job yet at that point, a new career field. So June of last year, I was like, when I was in LA, I was like, I started doing a lot of math, and I was like, what do I want my life to look like? Definitely no more roommates. You guys have heard all the freaking stories. If you've listened to all that, would you want to go back to roommates? It's like, no, heck no. Like, for me, it's like not worth any cheap price anymore to deal with any kind of situation that I don't want to deal with at the moment, Like, I mean, it's already hard enough when you have bad neighbors. I mean, I don't want bad neighbors, of course, but I really don't want bad anybody. Like, I don't want to live, with any toxic situations. I grew up with people who tried their best, but it wasn't always the absolute top tier of living environments. Like, of course, like, I definitely had a leg up on some things. Family really cared for education, being disciplined in certain aspects, being kind of like, care for your spirituality, really into like sports, but not necessarily in a way that was like hyper competitive, just to keep life well-rounded. So I feel like I had a very well-rounded childhood overall. Like, even though I did experience like depression and had some trauma symptoms and things, and I didn't know what was going on, but nobody did. Like, I guess, my mom did mention being aware of like some artwork that I used to make when I was younger, and it was like dark, and like, she was kind of like, like, why is my kid making this kind of artwork and stuff? And like, I wasn't like always super happy, but I was so involved with so many activities that it helped just kind of like with the behavioral activation psychological aspect of things. It was like, yeah, maybe my life wasn't like perfect, whose is, but it was good enough, like I was able to function on most of the general levels, enough to kind of get through school, work, that kind of thing. Like, I could handle, a typical Western lifestyle without, having to be on disability and stuff. And I'm not knocking people on disability. I'm not saying that, people shouldn't be on disability or anything. I'm just saying, I was lucky enough to be, I was fortunate enough to be around healthy enough environments that I wasn't like overly damaged, if that makes sense. So yeah, while my life wasn't like super perfect, when I look around, I'm like, I don't think I would have traded, what I have. Like, I have a massive family, 2-parent household, folks that have been through a lot, but, I ate every day. I never had days where I had to skip meals because nobody had money to feed us. Like, we weren't always perfect with money, but, as a kid, I never felt it too much. Like, there were times when I was really young, when my folks were getting things together for themselves, and they, I didn't live with my parents for a while, and then there were I lived with other family, and maybe they didn't always take the best of care of me, but to them, they felt like they were doing the right thing. So it's kind of like, I give them that, they felt like they were doing the best they could, and I don't think they thought about repercussions. These are people who were never trained about psychological disorders and anything along those lines. They had like no awareness of it, no education behind it. And when I look back, I'm like, yeah, I knew a lot of family members who had a lot of, mental health issues that were untreated and unmanaged and all that kind of stuff. And so, from the time I was even young, I wasn't raised in like a perfect household, but it's like, I also ended up moving in with people that were just like wackadoo. And I feel like it's possible that some of the choices I made to move, were, looking back, I'm like, I think some of those choices may have been just lack of insight, like I didn't really see warning signs. I wasn't really good with setting boundaries, like even recently, I paid someone, like just a random example, I paid someone to do some marketing for me. I paid a very low fee. It was like $15 for 2 gigs basically for this person to do this work. And I was like, okay, this person's new. They don't have any reviews. They don't have any, it doesn't look like anyone's like hired them before. So I took a chance. I was like, this is a cheap rate. It was a gig that should have been done already, like the other day. It should have been done like, I think on like May 1st. And as I'm speaking, it's May 5th right now. Cinco de Mayo. It's May 5th. And they extended until May 3rd. And then the other one they extended to May 4th. Neither one of them have been completed. And, ordinarily I wouldn't make a complaint. I wouldn't ask for a refund, like whatever. But I'm like, dude, you never finished what you were working on. You never finished the work. And so I'm literally going to go in and be like, look, this is not acceptable. You know, I don't think I should have to pay if you never finished what you were doing. You know, the other side of me would have ordinarily been like, okay, I'll just let it go. See if they provide the service that they said they were going to provide, and then see if they provide it, and then I'll you know, if they don't provide that service that they said they were going to provide, at that point I'll you know, still leave a review, but the nicest possible review. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't have to leave a review for somebody who didn't get the work done. You know, like, that's not okay. You know, I paid them $30. It's not a whole lot of money, but I mean, if they said they were going to get it done in 24 hours and then we extended it, you know, more than once, and it's still late. As of now, it's still late. They still haven't submitted it yet, and it was due yesterday, and it was late yesterday when they hadn't submitted it. So I'm like, okay, like, that's not acceptable. You know, I'm gonna ask for a refund. Ordinarily I wouldn't ask for a refund. I'm always trying to be nice to people and just like, oh, okay, you know, like, I even get pressured on Instacart where it's like I've already tipped them 15%, maybe even 20% of like $100 worth of groceries or something, and then pay them an extra $5. It's like, okay, I don't know. It's like, when money's tight, it's like, do you really need to go out of your way that much? Do you really need to, you know, be a pushover? You know, and I it's something that I am trying to get better at, but I'm looking at things and I'm like trying to just kind of like reflect on things more and make better choices. And I noticed that, you know, I've always had to be nice, you know, be nice, or else, you know, you're going to have chaos coming your way. And it's like, I've learned how to be nice. I know how to be nice. I know how to be a people pleaser. And it's not good, you know. And I've done it with family. I've done it with housemates and all those kind of situations. And I kind of know that about myself. And it kind of puts me in a situation oftentimes where I'm like, I'm the one who's left unhappy and frustrated and pissed off at people, when it's like they're the ones that are fucking it up. It's not me, you know. Like, so, you know, like, I'm not saying like things have to resort to violence or anything along those lines. I'm just saying, like, you know, I've literally stayed in houses to be nice to people or let them get another chance when I was overwhelmed by them, to be nice, you know, because I didn't want them to feel bad, or because they kind of begged me to not leave because they really liked having me as a housemate. And it's like, well, of course you like having me because I'm pleasant to talk to, and I don't fight you, and I don't have people complaining about me to you, and, you know, you don't have to deal with my bullshit, you know. So, you know, the most somebody could probably say they have to deal with me is, you know, if I happen to be smoking weed and you catch a whiff of it, you know, that might be annoying, but nobody's ever told me, you know, don't smoke pot. And most of the times when I was smoking pot was because I was overwhelmed by these other people. And just because, you know, it is, I'll, like, honestly, it is a part of my lifestyle. It's not something, like, some people have a glass of wine for dinner sometimes. Some people go out on the weekends and drink. I like to smoke a little bit of weed. Like, I don't really see any difference. But yeah, I have noticed that it is a little bit of a challenge sometimes. You know, but yeah, so I didn't know what it was going to be like moving back to LA. It's a little bit of a hassle, you know, to live with people that are a little socially needy and things like that, you know, where I'm just like, all right, you need to get a social life and, like, leave me alone. You know, that's been a frustrating process to have to deal with. But now that, you know, I guess both of my folks are kind of living at the house, it's a little less of an issue because now they have each other to talk to. So I'm like, you guys go hang out with each other and, like, leave me alone. And I just kind of roam around and do my own thing, and I'm perfectly happy with that setup. Like, just leave me alone. You know, I'll tell you if I want to hang out. We can hang out if you want to hang out. Like, I'm not really trying to do anything else. But I just keep it simple like that. But yeah, I don't really know. Like, I definitely have noticed that I've been feeling better throughout the days. Some days are still harder than others, but honestly, what helps me the most, it was just kind of weird, is just getting out of the house. Like, even if I am sitting around at the beach or like going to the gym or like sitting around places and just chilling around, it's like, it's better than sitting in the house, you know? So, like, I'm definitely not much of a homebody. I never have been. I don't know why I think I would be good at that kind of lifestyle, but right now it's just career focused. So, when I moved in June of 2022, you know, I was definitely dealing with a lot of things, you know, but I was working still. And in September was of 2022 was when I decided to enroll in the tech class, and I was like, I'll be done with this in a month or two, because it seems like most people finish in a month or two. So by the end of last year, I had expected to be done, initially, and then I realized how hard it was to do it while working, because I was burned out at work. Like, I had been talking about, you know, my situation at work for a while before I was ready to even change anything about it. And so, and people who have followed this podcast, you know, like, I've been bitching and moaning about that mental health job as well as the roommates for like 2 whole years. You know, like, I feel like it was a lot of what got me to kind of start podcasting was just because I was like, well, it's free to do it, and I can just sit and, you know, talk to people who want to hear, you know, stories about what I have to say, or just, you know, if you want to listen to me venting about all this stuff. But it was almost every day, you know, just like, I can't believe what this person did and how frustrating this situation is, and like how much I didn't sleep because of this idiot, you know. And I know that they had mental health issues. I mean, I'm not saying I don't have any. I'm just saying that, you know, I know that they did have them. But it's like, I think at the least people should get themselves together enough where they shouldn't be impacting another person's health on a regular basis. Or at all. Preferably not at all, but I mean, minimally, you know. People shouldn't have anger issues in a way that it's affecting other people. People shouldn't have, you know, other cleanliness issues in a way that it's affecting other people. Like, if you're going to have to live with other people, you got to handle your shit, you know? And it's like, that's kind of how it needs to be, you know? Like, that's strongly what I believe. Like, I don't expect anyone to be perfect, but the second people are losing sleep or not able to eat properly or not able to kind of do their own self-care routines because somebody else in the house is getting it in their way, you know. And it doesn't even mean the exact situations I've dealt with. It can be all kinds of other stuff. If somebody's being verbally abusive, if somebody's being even I mean, something that I don't really touch on a lot, but, you know, there is a form of living with people where there can be some form of like financial, I don't know if I'd want to go as far as calling it financial abuse, but it's like, say for example, and I'm not trying to like put anybody's business out there, but I'm just saying, like, I'm giving an example. Say for example, you have a housemate who cannot pay the rent, right? They can't pay the rent, but still they choose to live there. And then the landlord's like, well, because this person can't cover their share, everybody else needs to pay an extra $50, you know, or something like that. And it's like, okay, it gets to a point where it's like, well, why should I have to cover this person's problems? You know what I mean? And like, I'm not saying that that directly happened to me, but it's like things like that happen, you know, where it's like people don't pay you back, or people might borrow money and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, look, if you've got your issues, if somebody else has got their issues going on, you know, which of us doesn't have issues going on, you know, where we can be handling ourselves as well as some complete stranger that's not even like a relative, you know? It's like, you know, I purposely would choose housemates that weren't friends, weren't relatives. You know, I've had a lot of friends be like, hey, we should move in together. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'd rather just not live with anybody I know, because I feel like I already know I'm kind of like hard, you know, I have a hard time with boundaries sometimes with like people, you know, taking advantage of the fact, you know, like I've had friends that literally, you know, can't afford to move in and they want to move in. And I'm just like, really? Like, do you think I was born yesterday? It's like, fuck no, I'm not gonna do that. It's like, you already can't pay, like, we can't even, like, make plans together or buy tickets for stuff, to go to concerts or trips or meet up for coffee or anything, because of that financial situation. And it's like, you want to move in and afford rent together? And I'm not trying to go there. I'm not trying to live with anybody else anymore on that level. And so, I do see that people kind of have their own things going on, but it's not okay for people to live, without managed issues. I think that, people who have issues like that, they should get help, And sometimes the help doesn't work fast, or maybe it's not fully effective, and I understand that. But it's like, if you're not even going to try to get help, I don't even know what to say, I don't think those people should be allowed to live with other people who just want to keep kind of a strict health lifestyle, and because they get in everybody's way, like, my health has never been as bad as it was, but I'm not going to say it's only their fault. It was my fault too, because there were plenty of times during those years I could have moved, which I didn't do. And so when I did move to LA finally, because I just couldn't take it anymore, and I'd had my last straw, and I realized, the person who said they were going to handle all these problems, they weren't going to handle it, because he started saying, I feel bad. And I'm like, I know you feel bad, but it's like, you would rather sacrifice everyone else's well-being for this one person who can't get it together after years, it's like multiple years. And so basically, I was pretty glad to be in LA, but also, it was a bit of a shot to the ego, because I was kind of like, it wasn't in the game plan to come back home. It wasn't in the game plan, and, it wasn't really part of what I was planning to try to do. And so I kind of, came back, and then, once I stopped working at the end of December, that's when all this other stuff, flooded in. Like, I did notice from when I first moved in June, I was definitely experiencing a lot of depression up until maybe September, when I started feeling a little bit better. And then once I stopped working, it probably took, from December, the end of December, I definitely was not feeling too good. January wasn't feeling too good. February wasn't feeling too good. It was about the time when I finished Jamie Messina's book. Maybe near like the beginning of March or so, maybe mid-March. I definitely started feeling better around that time. And I noticed it, like, because the snowboard season last year, not this past season, but the snowboard season the year before was hard because I physically had injuries. This snowboard season was hard because I had like a lot of mental health things going on. And so, the season before these last two seasons was epic, even though I hardly got to go at all. But, cause nothing was really open the full time, but that's the year that I got to go to New Mexico. And so it's like, yeah, it's like night and day. I was able to snowboard really good then, it was an epic time. But yeah, this last two seasons have been kind of like a bust, and it's kind of been unfortunate. But, snowboard season starts again in December. I think I'm going to Colorado, in November, and I think I'm going to Colorado in December. So I'm already saving up for that. I feel like, a lot of days I am going through the motions, but I'm able to go through the motions. So for me, that's progress. It's like I'm able to do the stuff that I need to do to help myself improve. And every time I do it, I do feel better. Um, like today, I woke up early, did the podcasting early, came home, had lunch, took a nap, woke up, went to the gym. It's like I napped and watched shows like most of the afternoon, and it's like that's not like me. And lately I've been able to sleep in, which isn't like me, and I've also been able to take naps midday, which also isn't like me. Like just things like that where I'm like my energy has definitely shifted. Um but this is just recent stuff, and in a way it's good cuz I'm way more rested than I've ever been in my life. Not in my life, but in probably in my recent life. Like since grad school, I didn't even really rest a lot in grad school. But there is something about, being in a busy lifestyle and having that momentum. Because I feel like I don't really have that momentum right now. Like, I don't have that busy lifestyle momentum that I used to have um, way back when, And there is something for me to being busy. Like, for me, it's not good to have too much time to myself. And I'm pretty impressed that, I didn't spend that much time, like, sleeping late and staying up till like 3 in the morning. Like, over this past quite a few months off from work since December, like, I've definitely had a pretty strict schedule. And I think the reason is because I get motivated to have breakfast in the morning because I don't like people talking to me in the morning. And I know my folks are usually up around 9 or 10. Like, they start cooking around 9 or 10, or they start being in the living room around like 8:30 in the morning, and the kitchen's right there. And so it's like, for me, it actually works in my favor to be ready earlier and just get it out of the way so that I don't have to talk to anybody till later in the day. For me, that just works because, I mean, as much as I tell people I don't really want to talk, or as much as I just like act like I don't want to talk, it's like they're my parents. They're not going to leave me alone. Like, they don't really give a shit. They're just like, whatever, we're going to talk to you. If we feel like talking to you, we're going to talk to you. Like, they don't really care. And I don't appreciate it, but that's just life. That's how it is. I live in their house, and I'm not saying they overwhelm me with it, like, on purpose. Like, they're not like going out of their way to like bombard me and annoy me with like being obnoxious. Um, they're not like knocking on my door to have like lengthy conversations or anything. Like, they just leave me alone. But it's like, if I'm in a public shared space, they're gonna talk to me, and even if I don't want them to, and I don't want them to, but they want to, so I just kind of deal. I don't like it, but I just kind of deal. But yeah, that's kind of how it's been. I've been going to the beach a lot since like April. Snowboard season, I'm not too pleased about how it went, but this next snowboard season, I plan on having a lot more money. I hope to still be working. I hope to get a remote job so I can still travel more, because that's been definitely beneficial. I did get in some traveling, my San Diego traveling, and Vegas traveling. I'd like to be working by September. No, I'd like to move back to San Diego by September. I'd like to be working during this month of May, so we'll see. I did some practice examining today. I'm gonna do it again Sunday. We'll see if by Thursday. What day am I going to Vegas? I gotta go to the Sick New World Festival. So let me see what day I'm going to Vegas. That's like on the 11th. Ooh, so that's next Thursday. So maybe, Wednesday might be pushing it. But I might go Wednesday. I might take the exam on Wednesday. I don't know about that. Am I traveling on the 11th? I don't even know what day I booked this trip. Let me check. I should probably figure out when I'm going. I don't know. Expedia is not opening fast enough. Oh, Friday, May 12th. So I can take it on the 11th. I'll be there May 12th to 15th. So I'm flying back on the 15th. So May 12th is Friday. So I'll be there Friday through Monday. Cool. I've got tickets to this gala event that I'm not really too interested in, but my friend wants to go, so I guess I'll try and do that. But yeah, so I guess on the 11th, Thursday, I'll see how this exam goes. And I'll either be partying or drowning my sorrows when I go to Vegas. We'll see. But it'll be a good way to get it out of the way, I think. I'm not ready, but I'm making myself be ready, because like I can't be sitting on this any longer. I mean, it's my career. I can't, just be like checked out. But I've honestly just emotionally checked out from so many things. Like, I stayed in a job that was, I would call it financially unstable, like, because, it led me to kind of stay living with all these kind of people. And, it's not that I couldn't have afforded to move. It's just that the way I like to save and contribute to my retirement, the way I like to live my life, there's no way that I'm going to have rent costing half of my income. So I was not okay with the idea of rent being half of my monthly take home, or more than half. I feel like that's just asking for trouble. And I know some people can manage it, some people can do that, but that's not ideally the life I want. I feel like I would have been stuck for a really long time just for having my own little studio apartment for $1,700 or so. I would have had my own little apartment, but it wouldn't have been worth all of that necessarily. It would have only really benefited me for one thing, which would have been for having less interaction with housemates. But I feel like it would have been hard to move up from there. I always knew that I had a little bit of money set aside for if I needed to take a long, lengthy mental health break, because I could kind of feel that this kind of work, it's been wearing on me for a while. And I kind of needed that. And that's what helped me kind of push, too, because I was like, well, I can take off 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and still be fine, Like, not like, I'm not like rolling in it, but like, I would have still been fine, I wouldn't have been like, scrimping. I could still live life, so, I was just knowing that in the back of my mind, and knowing that I had like a PTO balance as well, a pretty high PTO balance most of the time while I was working. Just knowing those things really gave me peace of mind and helped me to work really hard and stick it out, but in a way it wasn't like the best of choices, the best of options, but it was a good opportunity. And I do have 2 solid job options for myself. If I ever get in a bind and need a job immediately, I can call these people up and work for them right away. And that would not be an issue. They know my work ethic. They trust my style of work. I'm good with the clients, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, and so I feel like there was some benefit to it, because I got a solid backup plan, even though it wouldn't financially suit me. If I had to do it, I could, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not a goal of mine. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I'm planning on doing. But if I had no other choice, if the economy really goes belly up and I really have nothing coming my way, I can always just hit these guys up and be like, look, I need something to hold me over for a few months here. And they would do me a solid. Even if I only wanted to work a couple months or temp or whatever, they would do me that solid. And so I'm down for that, I am completely into that as an option. And I don't know why people proceed to ride their bikes in the middle of the street. People ride their bikes in the middle of the street here, and they don't look out for cars or like listen for cars or anything. They just keep riding, and it's like, then they freak out when you're like right, like I don't drive fast behind them, but they freak out when they turn around and they notice there's a car, and they start like, I always worry someone's gonna like fall or something, and I don't want to honk, But it's like, dude, I need to drive. Like, there's a sidewalk right there. Like, I need to drive. And especially when they're walking their bikes, it's like you're not even riding your bike, you're just walking it in the street. But the joys of city living. But yeah. So that's kind of all, like, I feel like this is kind of like the end of one chapter, beginning of another chapter, but I've definitely learned a lot of lessons since moving to San Diego and then coming back again. I've learned a lot, and a lot about myself, even during this break. It was supposed to be a 3-month break, and now we're on month 5, but we're not through with month 5. Month 4, I got pretty distracted. I got sick and I got distracted, so there was that. So I'll give myself that. Like, I tried something that wasn't really in the stars for me, and then I was like, wait, refocus. Like, I'm not doing what I had set out to do. I'm doing some other thing instead. So yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this next phase, but I got some other episodes to post up that don't have to do with my living situations, and so stay tuned for those. I'll post them up. I hope I'll post them up during this weekend. It's my plan. They're already pre-recorded. I just need to get on posting them, and I don't know which days I'll post the daily updates for what day. Like, I don't really know at this point. I've completely lost track, but I've got daily updates as well. So with that, I'm gonna get my protein shake, get a shower going, get the end of my work for the day finished, and get on with my weekend. Alrighty, y'alls. In advance, sorry for my throat. I'm probably gonna be clearing my throat a lot. But we're here. It's Cinco de Mayo when I'm recording this. Just kind of like a daily upload. Not sure why it's raining. Our weather Wednesday and Thursday, according to the apps, couldn't decide if it was going to rain Wednesday or Thursday. It didn't say a dang thing about it raining Friday, but it ended up raining early this morning, Friday, Cinco de Mayo morning. I was not pleased, but I'm here at the beach, and I'm not, pleased that it's a rainy day, but, the waves are, dang, man, these sets are coming in quick, and the tide's out pretty far, like, it's in, I don't know why it's in so far, and the waves are breaking pretty hard at the shore, pretty much. It's really weird. I don't know. I guess you guys know I come to the beach enough to kind of, I kind of understand like how it usually looks like on a normal day, but I am here a little bit earlier. It's a little bit before 10 a.m. I started getting ready to come over here at like 9:30 a.m. and it's like I got here at like 10:45, so the waves are a little bigger than usual because I am usually here at noon, but dude, they look like they're some of these waves are breaking at like almost 5 feet, man. Like it's pretty impressive. A lot of the surfers are kind of leaving right about now, but some of them are still coming in. So yeah, stormy beach day. There's still storm clouds on the horizon, but it looks beautiful. It's nice and blue and bright. There's some ships out there, which is crazy looking. It's very clear. the water even looks a little clear. I'm not even at the cove area, and it looks, a lot nicer than what it usually looks like. But I don't know. It's beautiful out. I just, Southern California people, most of us, maybe not most of us, but myself in particular, I know we need the rain. I know it's important for life and growth and everything, to sustain us, but also, I prefer the weather to be nice and good and sunny. But one advantage is with podcasting, at least I can keep the windows closed because it's not too hot out. So that's kind of a nice little touch. I do like the windows open, but there's a lot of people here this Friday morning. So yeah. Oh man, I don't even know. Like I forgot up until last night pretty much that I was trying to do this month of, this project of, tracking my internet usage and things like that. I think for the past few days I kind of got off track with it. I didn't really even remember until last night pretty much, when I kind of sat down, took a moment to do more reflecting and realized, hey, wasn't I in the middle of doing something something a little specific, because I usually do pick something to do during the month, something of a challenge. So I kind of forgot about my challenge and got pretty warped into this stress about this practice exam and just some other stuff, just generally having this weird time focusing on just positivity. It's been kind of hard to see things in a perspective, like, I still notice, yeah, I keep talking about it, but it's just because if I'm doing a daily update I can't really avoid it. But I do kind of notice, my mind is pretty negative, and it does take a bit of a toll. My mind is pretty negative, and when I do attempt to kind of shift my focus, it is a difficult process. And so that kind of thing is a little annoying for me. And I did work on it last night more. But it seems like, for me, it's something that's easier to work on when I have, like, cannabis edibles in my system. And outside of that, I feel like it can be a little hard to really actively, like, deeply work on it. And so, I mean, if that's what I have to do, I'm not, like, complaining or anything. Like, I have nothing against edibles and, like, timing them in a way where it's like, it's not interfering with any other important stuff that I have to get done, like any other productive things, and it's part of my self-care and relaxation routine. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess maybe there is a bit of a stigma about, doing things while under the influence of almost anything. But when I think about it, I'm like, okay, like, what would be the difference if I went to a doctor and got antidepressants or something like that, or, something for anxiety? It's like, those are still medications, and they're chemical medications usually. And I feel like, there's stuff like serotonin, there's stuff like, for sleep, melatonin. There's other stuff like CBD, like things that aren't psychoactive necessarily, that can still, aid in, focusing and kind of getting the mind to be kind of more like in this forced, energetic, and kind of more euphoric state. Somewhat so, like not, it. I wouldn't call it like euphoria, but it's like maybe more of a neutral uh, tone to things. Um, and caffeine and things like that. Like I had a little coffee this morning, but then I had just a little bit of yerba mate, and I was like, wow, like I noticed the difference. I haven't had yerba mate in a while, and I might switch back to it because it felt better. It felt good. The coffee isn't really kind of like giving me like a positive mood as much lately, and I feel like maybe it's too low of caffeine, or maybe it's you know I don't know, maybe the receptors it's hitting, or maybe the supplements in it just aren't as effective. Like I wouldn't say I've built a tolerance to it necessarily, because I mean maybe to coffee specifically, or maybe like the lion's mane mushrooms or chaga that's in that coffee. I don't really know. Um, I'd actually like to study that a little bit more. I'm very interested to study more about brain receptors with CBD and THC and CBN and melatonin and serotonin and caffeine of all kinds. I mean, the caffeine that I usually consume is usually in the form of coffee, yerba mate tea, or C4 pre-workout. That's probably the main. And then I would say sometimes I'll have caffeinated like green tea or something like that. But usually, if it's something around the house, it's going to be one of those. And because that's what I tend to purchase from stores. So I'm a little interested in kind of that aspect of things, because I do notice my energy, my focus, my mood is a little bit enhanced, and I get to feel kind of more what I prefer to feel sometimes, versus if I have none of this stuff in my system. So a lot of it is it's pretty good. It's pretty powerful. I pretty much enjoy it all. I like kind of how I feel, and versus with nothing in my system, I feel like I'm not as functional. Like I'm very easily overwhelmed, very low energy, motivation is just not there. I can force it. Like I've gone some days, like Wednesday I went without caffeine, and I think Sunday as well. And those days, well, Sunday I did nothing, and then Wednesday I was able to, I don't know if I studied Wednesday, I can't recall. But yeah, I had a pretty busy schedule this week, and I was still able to kind of force myself to do at least the bare minimum of everything I needed to get done. With the exception of wrapping up some projects, but I was mostly focusing on studying this week. And for me, my busy week comes to an end at Friday night, so I've just got some hours left of today's daytime until I get into that portion of my weekend. It's gonna become kind of the more restful phase of things. Resting, reflecting, learning, but not learning necessarily for work type of stuff. More so learning just for other types of personal development, as well as just in general, learning, as far as just trying to you know, trying to kind of understand things better. Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of sitting here. Somebody parked right next to me, and then now they're kind of deciding to like change their clothes right next to me. So I'm trying not to pay attention to them, but yeah. So that's maybe one thing, and then but yeah, that's kind of like the overarching theme of what I'm trying to manage lately. And I'm definitely gaining insight into the situation a little bit. Yeah, one thing I did notice is that, you know, I've had more I've been dreaming more this week. I don't know what that's all about, but I have been. I don't know why. Like, I don't really track too carefully kind of what I take and how much and all that. Like, I don't always track it. But usually at night, I'll have some combination of an edible, melatonin, and or vaping this Raw Garden. I think it's Sky Doggy. I think I'm vaping Sky Doggy indica strain. I don't really remember though. Because I got it like early April. And I don't know. Sorry about the noise. The guy's waxing his board. But yeah, that's kind of like the main experience that I can kind of explain. You know, the sleep, the energy, the fogginess. I have not worked out this week as much as I wanted to. I might be able to get that in tonight. I don't tend to work out Friday nights, and the last times I did, it was really busy, and I did not like it at all. Like, I was like, this gym, I think the busiest it is Friday nights. So I didn't like that. I was not a fan of that. But actually, I might go to the gym tonight, just to kind of get it in, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something like that. The day that I skipped, I think that was Tuesday or Wednesday. The day that I skipped, I guess it was Wednesday. I told myself I skipped it because Tuesday I was a little bit injured. And then I didn't want to, I felt fine Wednesday, but I didn't want to push. And then, so it was Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I felt like I didn't want to, Wednesday I felt like I didn't want to do too much. Yeah, I felt that way on Wednesday. Because I didn't really want to, I don't know, I just was feeling kind of lazier, really, and low energy, not a lot of motivation to work out, really. So it was kind of more that, but a little bit of an excuse because I didn't want to like aggravate anything, but I also didn't really want to make that much effort to go get out and exercise. And then yesterday, I could have exercised. I kind of sat on it, and I was, I kind of like tell myself, it's kind of like something I tell myself that isn't gonna happen, right? So like, I find myself commonly saying things like, if it gets too late or if I'm too tired, I'll just work out at home. But the issue is, I don't really want to do it. Like there's something about, like for me, there's a little bit about getting out of the house to do stuff. Like I'm just a little more focused. Like if I can just get out of the house to go to a place like to my gym, or even like when I'm studying and go like to the coffee shop or to the bookstore or to the library. Once I get to a point where I can just go to where I'm trying to go, like once I get there, I arrive there, I'm honestly usually pretty good to go, like, because once I get there, I'll at least do the minimum. Like the other day I went with my pants on, long pants, they are not for exercising. Like I don't have good mobility with those pants. The way they're even made, it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but the I guess the crotch area is kind of lower than usual, probably about 4 or 5 inches low, and it kind of makes it so it's hard to kind of like if you were to stand up and do like a high knee kind of exercise or something, or like even going up like a high step, it kind of limits my mobility like that. Like it makes it so it's hard to kind of like, I have to like hike up my pants along my thighs to kind of lift up my leg properly. Like they're fine for like walking or just like sitting around, but like I've worn these to like concerts and stuff too, and I like them because they have so many pockets that zip and everything. And I did notice that when I tried to step up in certain places, it they're kind of restrictive pants. And so I was wearing those when I was studying, and then I was like, let me not go all the way back home to get my shorts. Let me go and put this on, just go. I can go to the gym in my pants. It's not a big deal. So I did like sit on the bike some, and then the like the forward facing bike, and then the I did some stretching, some yoga, some lifting. But I hurt my back during a little bit of lifting, and it's like whatever, you hurt your back while you're lifting, like it's kind of like whatever, But yeah, I was a little maybe, because I did have back pain Tuesday night. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I did have back pain. But by the time I woke up, it wasn't really there anymore. And so I was like, well, I don't know if it's healed enough. And I've had so many times during 2022 where I had issues with my back, issues with my shoulder blades in the back. And like, I am considering, during the summer kind of getting into the rock gym. And that was, for some bouldering. And that was one thing that really kind of threw me off was, the last time my friend came to town, I think it was April of 2022 or February or something. I don't remember honestly, but one of the last times she came to town, we had this plan to go to the rock gym, and I really wanted to go, but I was like I'd done a little bit of bouldering before, but this time I was injured, and also like I don't like the height. Like to me, I know it's not high up, but to me it's heights enough that I usually get a little Like, if there's anything that's not perfect with my body, I'm going to worry more than usual. And so that kind of interfered. I was able to do it somewhat, like the easy ones somewhat, but I wasn't able to really try a lot of like different techniques and different holds and things that I wanted to do. But that membership is like 50 a month or something like that, which isn't a lot considering that it's like 20 a day or something. So I think it's like 50 a month. And I did buy chalk, so I was like, well, I have chalk, so I didn't want to, you know, I don't know, like, I didn't want to, you know, not do it. It's something that I have been wanting to do. Like, I really am into kind of like solo sports and not team sports. And so I do kind of want to get into, into rock climbing. And I'm considering, because there's this capoeira class locally. I think they have like a meetup coming up. I might venture into it and check it out for free and then see if I actually want to join. Because I do want to join. Because I feel like it's something I could do without having to have like a team commitment. Like, I don't know. I don't hate team sports. I'm just not into them, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not like, I don't know. For me, it's too much pressure. It's too much stress. So I've kind of, stopped doing like soccer, basketball, stuff like that, and got more into like tennis, a little bit tennis, but not really. I don't really have many people to play with. And then more so like rollerblading, snowboarding, just hiking around, beach days like almost every day, like, urban hikes, just all kinds of like little stuff like that. And I'm able to go to the areas and like be in the area where I could do those things, but I don't always do them. So I do want to have a more active month. I would like for this month to become more active. But it's just hard, I'm trying to even just deal with just the day to day. So, and I do notice it makes me feel better, and I do feel sharper. I think some of the fogginess does come from, lack of exercise. I am in the house a lot, so I like to do things like get out, and I'm more comfortable recording podcasts kind of outside of the house. So it is nice to go to parks or the beach and places like that where I've been recording from for a while now, since like March or so. It's kind of nice to just get out and, be outside, even if I'm not like outside, like I'm sitting in the car, but it's like I'm not sitting in the house. So just things like that. Like, I'm definitely, continuing to work towards, what I want to do, and like I'm getting there slowly. I'm trying to have patience with the process of it all. But it takes like a little bit of building up. I mean, if I think about how many years I spent kind of, I don't want to call it tearing down, but just kind of not taking care of myself, there's a lot that I'm trying to resolve. So, it's not going to happen overnight. And I did have some times during April, like when I was sick, where there was a little setback there. And sometimes during, when I started looking for work and stuff like that, where I got a little distracted. And then some other times, so it's like just trying to balance all the day to day. It's not impossible. It's not the hardest thing, but it does take a lot of focus. And back to the internet use thing, like, I really don't find it too valuable for me, to sit watching videos all day. Like, it's fun, it's entertaining, it definitely takes my mind off of the things that are maybe not going perfectly well, but it also doesn't really, I don't really gain anything from it. I don't gain any like real knowledge. It's not like thought provoking, it's not like philosophically provoking. There's nothing I can really incorporate into my self-care. I'm not like really learning from a lot of the stuff I'm watching. Some of it, yeah, like the podcasts and different types of stuff that I might read or write or whatever. A lot of that stuff can be really empowering and eye-opening, but there's also a lot of it. Like, I've been watching Harlem. I like it. It's a cool show. I mean, it's nice to see like black people in a show where, it's kind of a fun story, but there's some serious aspects to it as well. But it's also like it's entertainment at the same time. And there's nothing wrong with entertainment, I think it's fine to just kind of check out and like get entertained, but I feel like it's hard for me to really gauge, am I checking out and getting entertained because I don't want to do any other thing, and it's just a way to distract from doing what I need to do. That's what's kind of hard for me to tell. It's like, do I need the break, or is this break serving me? Do I need the break? Or am I having a break when I am just kind of using it to like avoid doing other stuff that I need to be doing? It's like, and it really is a struggle because I really am still, like, I'm not fully not burnt out anymore. Like, that hasn't fully gone away. But I don't feel like I'm serving myself too well by not working towards, getting back into a career and that kind of thing. Like, I'm definitely doing work. I'm definitely doing things. My day is full, and I am able to kind of, determine which days I take breaks and which days I don't. And kind of, like Thursday, it was hard to kind of stick to what I needed to do for May 4th, but I did it. I did study, I did review, I didn't do enough of it. Like, I didn't do it as much and as thoroughly as I would have hoped. And today I did this practice exam that kind of let me know that I'm not really quite ready to even take the practice exam, but I'm almost there. Like, but I feel like ordinarily when I was studying, like way back in the day, not for this stuff, but for school in general, when I was studying to kind of start working in psych, I feel like my brain worked differently then. The amount of stuff that I have to learn now, it feels like it's not as hard, as challenging, as difficult. But then again, I haven't even been learning it for a year. Whereas in psych, I've been learning it since I started getting interested in it during high school, during like my senior year of high school, I believe. And, majored in psych in college. And so pretty much from about 2022 or so, 2021, or sorry, not 2021, from like 2001 to like 2002 or so is about when I started getting interested in the field of psychology. And that's almost like 20 something years, of being like starting to learn and like learning some kind of background or something versus, I only started doing what I'm doing now September of 2022, mid-September. And so, definitely I don't have as deep of a background in this field as I do in psych. Um, Even on the studying end, so that is one thing. It is draining to kind of learn something completely new. Like there is some overlap, but I mean, psych has overlaps with like everything pretty much. But um, yeah, it's it's definitely a challenge. I'm definitely challenging myself. I'm definitely you know coming across a lot of learning about myself, and last night I found it very impactful. Like I was rewatching some episode of, you know, what's his face, Peter Santinello's episode that he was doing with Shlomi, this Hasidic Jewish guy. Like they're walking around New York, and I guess this guy introduces him to one of his friends or someone he knows in the community. And this guy has a son, a young son, and this son was talking about, just something as simple as joy, like, and just like, I don't know exactly how he worded it, but he was like, when you wake up in the morning, you can say like, oh, the sun is shining, and be like, wow, like, and be like fascinated by it, and like actually like interested in, nature, and like I have all my needs met, and and some other person was saying about people who leave the community. It's like, you can be happy with what you have and look at the positive things of like, I'm in a community that's focused on, family, having good relationships. I'm in a community that's focused on, you know, joy and kind of like, pleasant, pleasant lifestyle, focused on worship and these types of things, and look at the good side of it versus looking at, oh, we don't have this, like we don't use the internet, we don't have like modern, lifestyles to, like, we don't, like, yeah, it's modern, like these people, a lot of them that we're talking, they're in the middle of New York, so it's not like they're living like some, it's not like if you look at like the Amish, how a lot of them are like trying to stick to kind of like old fashioned methods of doing things, like some really old order groups of people in Amish culture, like not even having indoor plumbing or like electricity, electric wires going to their house. Like, I've seen videos where people drive around those areas and they look at some of the housing and they're like, you can tell because they don't have any power coming to their house. It might be that solar power might be acceptable for some of them, but a lot of times it's like, you know, there are people that live in those societies that don't have any kind of electricity, any kind of smartphones, don't drive a car, versus like, the Hasidic culture, they're not really so strict on like limiting like necessarily the technology, and more so just like focusing on the community and the religion and things like that, which is a different focus. Like there is like always going to be some overlapping with like, really conservative groups, but and traditional groups of people, but I would say that overall, they are trying not to expose themselves and their people to things that they feel like maybe there's not a benefit to them. Like they don't see it as beneficial, they see it more as like a negative. And so they were mentioning things like having flip phones and things like that. Or maybe for work they might use internet and things like that, but they don't really technically go to movies or have televisions in their houses or go to museums or public libraries. And I can't speak specifics because like there's so many differences between so many groups. So there are some groups that are really, really like open, and then there are other groups that are a little more kind of like isolated, and you know, there are people who like maybe they only speak Yiddish and they only really interact with their own people, and then there are people who speak English and they're kind of like integrated more into like the mainstream culture in New York and things like that. But anyways, this guy was saying this kid and some other person, some other rabbi, I don't remember if it was the same video, but yeah, the kid was kind of mentioning like, yeah, you can look at the sun and like, cuz it comes out every day or whatever, and just be like, the sun is shining, and just be kind of like, okay, that's just how it is cuz it's a new day, you know. But or you can look at it and be like excited by it and kind of like motivated by it, and you know, in awe of it. And you know, it just kind of depends on, you know, your own perspective on how you look at things. And you know, I kind of was thinking that through a little bit more last night, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty true. Like it's not like this toxic positivity necessarily of like, oh, like just pretend like it's good when it's not, kind of thing, and ignore all the stuff that's actually like deeply wrong, even within a person's own life, you know, to like ignore themselves and just be like, everything's fine, everything's positive, you know. But like when I think about like for myself, like I do think about it and I'm like, well, you know, a lot of the things that I struggle with that I'm finding maybe not coming easily or smoothly, it's not stuff that I can't do, and it's not stuff that I don't do. It's just stuff that I got out of practice of doing it. At some part of my life, I was definitely doing these things. And at other parts of my life, I was not doing these things so much. So yeah, there were times when I was doing them, and there were other times when I was kind of like, you know, letting the work and school and stuff get the best of me, and not really tending to the basics of what I needed to kind of be the most functional version of myself. And just letting things go, and that only lasted so long. It's like I can't keep that up for too long, you know. So yeah, so that's kind of how I see it. Or I'm just like, let's see. Yeah, like that's kind of how I see it, but it's not always like every day is a new situation, you know. But yeah, this is getting kind of lengthy, but yeah, that's pretty much what I had in mind to say for today. And so with that, thanks for listening.